In My Bloody Valentine, we follow a group of young miners in a small town with a dark past. 20 years earlier, a group of miners are trapped inside a mine after an explosion is set off due to the supervisors leaving early and not monitoring the methane levels. And where did they go? The Valentine's Day dance. After a few weeks of searching, the only sole survivor miner found alive, Harry Warden, is declared clinically insane and put in a mental institution since he is found eating human remains and he's clearly gone mad after being buried alive for weeks. 20 years later, leading up to Valentine's Day and the return of the Valentine's Day dance, bodies start turning up. The town's sheriff and mayor begin to suspect Harry Warden is back and must have heard about the Valentine's Day dance. So they shut it down, to which the town's youth push and rebel in the party to the mines, which starts as a fun get-together but turns into a bloodbath with some amazing kills and amazing special effects, especially in the final act as characters TJ and Axel run down into the mines to warn and recover their friends Hollis, Patty, Howard, Mike, Harriet, and Sarah. Unfortunately, only 3 survive. TJ, Sarah, and Axel, who is revealed to be the killer, not Harry Warden, who is said to have died years ago by the institution. Apparently, Axel's father was one of the supervisors who left Harry Warden and the other miners, who he eventually kills. Axel was left under the bed, bloody and traumatized. It's implied he thought his father deserved it by the end of the film when he says Harry Warden made him pay.
Daddy, gone away. Harry Warden made you pay.
It's also possible Axel just carried the torch after the horrific scene, or swore in Harry's name to take revenge on the town, or maybe Axel spoke to him, Harry Warden. Who knows? Although after the final fight between Axel and TJ and Sarah, Axel is crushed by rubble from the mines. Until Sarah tries to see if he's still alive, he grabs at her and successfully snatches and grabs her arm. She struggles to escape until eventually she pulls his arm away since he'd cut it off to escape. Axel walks almost in a limp down the dark mine tunnels with one last set of words to the town, one very unsettling, one last, set of words to the town that they'll pay. Harry and Axel will make them pay, and will Sarah be my bloody Valentine?
Sarah, be my bloody Valentine.
TJ and Sarah watch as Axel goes further into the darkness, left shocked, confused, scared, sad, and traumatized at the events that occurred that night, until Axel is consumed by the darkness of the mines. Now, what happened after My Bloody Valentine? Let's begin with the slasher or killer. Axel walks deep into the mines, although he is obviously an experienced miner, knows the mines. So it's hard to believe he'd get lost. It is very obvious to assume he'd actually come back up to the surface and kill again to get revenge on the town and Valentine's Day. And he swears and screams at the end of as he swears and screams at the end of the 1981 film My Bloody Valentine.
Harry, I'm coming. This whole fucking town is going to die! We're coming back, you bastards!
Even maybe targeting TJ and Sarah, since Axel screams, Henniker, I'll be waiting in hell for you, which is TJ's last name and also the last name of his father, the mayor. So it's likely he'd exact revenge on them too, as Harry did the supervisors who screwed him over. Although TJ, Sarah, and the town didn't screw Axel over, he'd obviously see it that way. On the other hand, it is very possible Axel bled out in the mines. He did do a self-amputation and likely doesn't exactly know a safe way to stop the bleeding or save himself. I'd imagine he just wrap a cloth around it and call it a day. In the end, either could have happened. He could have also come back to exact revenge on the town, those who wronged him, and Valentine's Day, or he could have bled out in the mines. A sequel was never made, although was in development for years after the 1981 film. It was called The Return of the Miner. Maybe My Bloody Valentine and The Return of the Miner. It would have likely covered Axel's survival, the town's potential paranoia, some thinking Axel is dead and some thinking he's alive, although likely covering his return as the miner / killer / slasher. Now moving on to TJ and Sally, or Sarah. The two did have a past relationship, as mentioned in My Bloody Valentine, that ended suddenly when TJ left town to pursue a new path / dream, and Sarah moved on to Axel.
I have to tell you that I love you and I want you back.
How was I supposed to know that, Jesse? I honestly didn't think you were ever coming back.
TJ returns, and obviously there's some drama which ends in Axel being revealed to be the killer, although obviously some very complicated love triangle stuff too. And imagine with TJ and Sarah's long past, the love they seem to have for each other, the moment they shared on the mountain near the ocean, etc., that they fell back into love or maybe never fell out of it. Also, it's possible they stayed in the town, although I couldn't imagine TJ going back into the mines. Even possibly his father, the mayor, shut it down and condemned it. Although it seemed like a huge line of work in the small town, so he unfortunately was forced to keep it open, which maybe would have started getting miners killed in the sequel. Back to TJ and Sarah, there's a chance they fell back in love, or because of the trauma and the fact Sarah didn't like TJ or didn't love TJ anymore, they didn't. Both are very possible, although I'm a fan of happy endings, so I'll assume they got back together. You can come up with your own opinions / theories, of course. If they got back together and the mines, the mine was closed, although even if it wasn't, I doubt TJ would enter it ever again or enter it again. I assume they'd leave the small town, but for a sequel, I'm sure it'd take place in the town unless it didn't. It is even possible the sequel wouldn't have even included Sarah and TJ, and maybe some new faces, and Sarah and TJ would have moved away. Although assuming they stayed in the town and stayed together, they would have fought / faced Axel, aka the miner, again. Maybe the sequel could have covered the conflict with the people wanting to open the mines to provide a better economy for the town, since it seemed like a big business or a big booming business or the only huge business for the small town, but the paranoia of opening it back up and letting Axel out. Maybe some young miners or rebellious kids like TJ and his friends disobey the town's rules to not enter the mines and accidentally free Axel, or maybe TJ goes back down into the mines and it is a surprise first kill, kind of like how some horror movies kill off the survivor of the previous film in the opening of the sequel, like Friday the 13th, or finds out Axel is still alive. There's so many ideas for the sequel and what happened after, too many to cover if I want to keep this video under an hour. So, what are your thoughts? What do you think happened after My Bloody Valentine? What do you think happened to TJ and Sarah? Do you think they stayed together, would have been in the sequel, stayed in the town? Do you think Axel would have returned to kill or bled out? What do you think happened to the town, or what do you think the effects of My Bloody Valentine had on the town, and what are your thoughts? As per usual, all sources will be linked down below. Thanks for watching. Peace, my amigos, and peace out.
Sarah, be my bloody Valentine.
Happy Valentine's Day.